Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday and welcome back to another edition of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. It is a beautiful Thursday afternoon. Sorry we are shooting this a day late. I had a course yesterday. It was super interesting. We'll touch on it a little bit later. But nonetheless, we're back here with you today, ready to dive into some amazing insights and some crazy stuff going on. Geoff, buddy, how are you doing, my man? Did you miss me yesterday?
Yeah, I missed you a
Thank you.
lot.
Good.
A lot.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited to go hit the Greater Vancouver Area Medallion Awards here this evening
Yeah.
and rub shoulders with all the big wigs here down in Vancouver on the real estate side of things. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be break out my new suit, and be.
Your new dancing shoes? Did you get some dancing shoes, Geoff?
Yeah, you know what? It's hard to find shoes for two left feet. So yes and no.
Oh. So no, you didn't find shoes, but yes, you're still gonna go dancing. That's what I like to hear, Geoff.
Yeah, but again, I have two left feet, so I do the shuffle really well, but I think I look really good on the dance floor until you see a video of yourself on the dance floor and you're like, I
And
thought
that's all that matters, Geoff.
I thought
You
that
just
looked
have to
better.
love it.
I
Think
thought that
about
looked
Elaine. Think about Elaine when she was dancing on Seinfeld. She didn't care what anybody thought. She was having a great time. Remember the kicks, Geoff? The kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Are you
And I
better
think
than that? Are you better than the kicks?
probably not. Probably not.
Oh, Geoff, you got to give yourself better credit than that, man. People are listening. People are watching. You got
I
to say
know.
yes.
Hey, I'm just being truthful. Just being
Uh,
truthful.
oh man. Well, man, like I said, we got a pretty packed day, so I figured we'd get into it. Yeah, I mentioned that I was on a course yesterday. So we have to do our relicensing every 2 years. So, in the industry, we have to go through continuing education. And that's brushing up on skill sets and stuff like that. So I actually took a couple of one was a new course, so just I won't get into it. One was a brand new course offered for the first time by the board on commercial leasing. I took that course. It was tremendous. What a tremendous course. So shout out to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board for offering that course for the first time. I hope it does stay. So much valuable insight. So well done. The next one that I took, and that was yesterday, was market evaluations. And it was a very, very interesting class. Super good, right? Super good. So it was market evaluations and adjustments. So what that is CMAs, Comparative Market Analyses, what we deliver to you guys when you're asking us to sell your homes. And it was
You mean also the BC assessment is not what you use as a guideline?
well, actually, that was a question within the course.
It's a very common thing people always do. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought this up because it's something that you can touch on actually and clarify.
Yeah, and it was really funny because that was actually a question within the course. Is that something that we as realtors utilize when we are pricing out our properties and when we're sitting down with our clients? Of course, I had a resounding heck no with different letters, right? Like, because no, I don't. But it was what I was going to touch on first was one, okay, I'll pause here and say it was interesting how many realtors actually do use assessment for when they are preparing a CMA. So super terrifying right there. Okay. But
And not to ruin your vibe here,
yeah,
but let's also clarify when those BC
they're
assessments are
6 months
done.
behind. They're 6 months behind, and that's why it's terrifying. Is because those assessments are 6 months, at least 6 months behind when you're getting it done. So your property is already, your value is already out of whack for good or worse, for better or for worse, right? So you're already dealing with outdated information. But the bigger thing that I wanted to state, like, because it was such a mixed bag of a class. There was, some senior realtors that have been doing this for decades. There was some of us that are, that are 5 to 10 in. There was others that are brand new. And so, I was really proud of the ones that were brand new, having the courage to say that they weren't comfortable delivering CMAs. I thought, I in my head, silently, I applauded them. I think that that was super, super important because, the best thing you can do as a human is admit where you're not strong and try to get better and start getting better. So I thought it was amazing that they were there and getting better to learn. But then it also worried me because there were some that were in my area of 5 to 10, right, where I'm 8 years in, right, that were not confident in delivering CMAs. And I thought, okay, good for admitting that, but that's a little bit scarier because you're still going out and delivering them, right? And then it brought me to thinking, how many people are not in this course that are out there delivering those CMAs and are too shy to say that, they're too ashamed to say that they don't know, or they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Because, there was one part of the course. Now, when I'm very confident in delivering CMAs, right? I am. But I always take these things as a refresher because I go in there with an intentional nugget to pull out. I go there with intention. So my intention during yesterday's class was I wanted to get better at time adjustments. That's what I wanted to get better at. It was a new lecture. So that's why I wanted to see if they had a new spin on time adjustments, right?
So again, let's clarify to
what a time adjustment is.
Yeah.
So a time adjustment is, so when you're selling your home, you might have a unique home that there's not a lot of comparable sales. And you can't just use any old home that's within the area or any old home that's within some other area that's kind of near your property as a proper comparable comp. So sometimes your proper comparable comp was sold 3 years ago, right? So now you have to do an adjustment for time, right? Or there's a seasonal adjustment for time, right? You could be selling within this year, but there's a seasonal adjustment for time. With that being said, there is adjustments for time. And realtors should be performing time adjustments to give you that much, to be that much more accurate in letting you know the value of your home, right? So that was mine. I wanted to brush up on my time adjustments. But as I was saying it got scary, Geoff, to think how many realtors out there are going out there and delivering a whole lot of poorly done CMAs, that they're just, doing the old, I'm going to see what's been up for sale in the last 90 days. I'm going to see what's sold in the last 90 days. I'm going to take the average of that. I'm going to say that that's where you should be.
Well, and to that point, it's really important that when people are choosing their realtor, understand, like, there are tons of realtors out there. And I heard a statistic, and I think we talked about it, is that 75% of realtors last year, 75% of realtors did not sell a home.
One. Yeah. Not
right?
one. Yeah.
Not one home. So even to your course and doing CMAs, when people who are fairly green that don't understand CMA, that's reasonable and understandable. But
right.
People that are 5 to 10 years in the industry that don't know how to do a CMA, which is a certified market analysis, correct? That's
competitive market analysis. Yeah.
And if they don't know how to do it, and these are the realtors that you're picking to represent the sale of your property, how much disservice are they doing for you? So again, go back to our power team and the importance of the power team, and also the understanding that everybody knows a realtor, everybody knows a mortgage broker, everybody knows a guy, everybody knows a girl, and you got to use this person. But the reality of it is, I jokingly say in my industry, there's 18,000 mortgage brokers you can choose from, and 16,500 of them are not very good.
Yeah, I'd say the average is about the same. And so that was what I wanted to stress to all the listeners out there is when you sit down with somebody to have that comparative market analysis done, that competitive market analysis done, whatever the realtor wants to call it, it's a CMA, right? Whatever, when you're having that talk with you, ask them how you got to that number. Ask them to show you how they got to that number, because that's one of the practices that I've started over the past few years. Is when I started, I was all gung ho. I was taught very well by mentors of mine. So thank you very much for teaching me for setting the foundation of how to do it properly. But I decided, before, as I was saying, I went there with the number and I kind of told them, right? Kind of told them how I got there. I found it easier to show people how we've come to that number. And it makes it easier for everybody when we are having that sometimes uncomfortable talk about the property, right? Why we are going to side to pricing it maybe lower than you liked, or maybe even higher than you liked, but and understand why now, as opposed to a realtor telling you. And the other thing that I should stress to everybody is don't just trust a realtor that's giving you qualitative data. So everybody, just to know what qualitative data is, that's a dollar sign. So they're saying, okay, that garage is worth $35,000 more. That's not always true. That's a qualitative doesn't always work, right? And don't trust one that always comes in quantitative, because stuff gets hidden. And so just so everybody knows what quantitative means, that means inferior, superior, on par, right? That's a whole lot of fluff, but at times that is necessary too. So again, understand that somebody that uses a well-done mixture of both is probably the best way to go with, right? And that's what I mean. You have to really understand how that realtor comes to that number. What do you use? Qualitative data, quantitative data, a mixture of both, right? Are you performing time adjustments? These are all questions. And if you ask a realtor these questions when they're doing a CMA, a lot of the times they're going to say, I have to go away now. You're asking me a lot of questions that I can't answer and I don't know how to answer. But at least that way you'll know you're getting the right answer.
Well, and again, to your point, it is so important to ask the questions to determine or to qualify on how you got there. How did you get to this evaluation? Like, explain it to me, rather just in good faith to say, oh, okay, well, because I think most people, what they do, Alistair, is they take a look at the BC assessment.
Yep.
And understand, folks, your BC assessment, say for 2024, was done in June or July of 2023.
Exactly.
Right? So your BC assessment for 2025 is going to be based on housing prices that were done in June and July of 2024. So it's always 6 months behind. It isn't relative to fair market value all the time. Sometimes it's a good base to kind of say, hey, if it's in line, but it can be higher than what your BC assessment is. It can be lower than what your BC assessment is, but it doesn't determine what your current market value is. Understand, your BC assessment, folks, are done to determine what your property taxes are going to be for the upcoming year.
Exactly. It's, as I always scream, it's a taxation tool. It's a taxation tool.
Right. And the other point that, jumps out at me is understand too that as a realtor, you need to be requalified and recertified over a period of time, right?
Right.
So that is a great standard in the real estate industry that, hey, just because you have your license doesn't mean that you're going to carry your license forever and a day. You need to recertify. Same thing on the mortgage brokering side of things, right? And I always tell people, a mortgage broker is different than a mobile specialist that works for a bank, because those mobile specialists that work for a bank are not mortgage brokers. They're not certified. There's no education in what they're doing. They truly are a bank employee and they're not governed by anybody. Right.
Yeah.
So that is the thing is to understand is that again back to your recertification, and that continued education. We talked about this last week. Is continued education is so important. And Alistair, you've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
I love the attitude that you're going in. You already know how to do a CMA, but if you can just pull one extra thing out of it, it just makes you that much stronger. So good on you. And
Thanks, man.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a great course. So great lecture, Pete. You did a great job, and it was and it yeah, like that. It was an eye-opening experience. It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
again, I just go back to, in both of our industries, there is a lot of people to choose from. And unfortunately, the majority of those people that you choose from are not going to do justice for you,
right.
right? So it's really, really important, folks, is that when you are picking your realtor, when you are picking your broker, ask the questions, do your due diligence, take a look at
Make it hard on us. Like I say, don't make it easy on us. Like that is what drives me nuts because most people just want to hear what they want to hear, a good price for their home. So it makes it really easier for the realtor. Oh,
yeah,
we'll sell it for $1.8 million.
yeah.
Oh, client says, oh, that sounds great. That's way more than I thought it was going to sell for. It won't sell for $1.8 million. He has no idea what the market is.
And just because your buddy knows a guy or your family knows a girl, again, you have to qualify that working professional because again, they may have worked for your buddy really well, or they may have worked for your mother really well. They might not work for you really well because your
Yeah,
scenarios are different, your needs are
completely.
different. The whole picture is different. So again, everybody knows a guy, everybody knows a girl. But again, at the end of the day, these are the people that are representing you, and you need to make sure that that relationship is good, and you're also speaking the same language, and also speaking and on the same page, right? So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, man, before we kick it into your gear, I have a did you know because this happened. Well, when I put it together, it actually happened a half hour ago. So now we're at about an hour ago. So I don't know if you know this one, Geoff, but Bank of Canada has signaled a shift in interest rate strategy amid trade war uncertainty. So, Geoff,
okay.
yeah, so Geoff, speaking in Calgary about an hour and a half ago, Canada Governor Tiff Macklem, sorry, has announced a shift in how the central bank will set its benchmark interest rate due to ongoing trade uncertainties with the US and China. So he's warned that new tariffs imposed by both countries could push Canada into a recession. So the key takeaways from this speech that I read was that the Bank of Canada may no longer provide a single economic forecast, but instead outline multiple scenarios to account for trade uncertainty. So this is how they're dealing with the interest rate uncertainty. The economic impact of tariffs, U.S. tariffs, and Canada's retaliatory measures are already causing economic strain, with the potential for further escalation on April the 2nd. So expect another escalation in tariffs April 2nd. Inflation risks, this is the big one. The bank is monitoring inflation, which rose to 2.6% in February. Depending on how businesses react to tariffs, inflation could temporarily spike. And with the global trade shift, Macklem emphasized that the era of globalization and economic stability has turned into one of increasing trade restrictions impacting Canada's long-term outlook. And so with the next rate decision set for April 16th, they are preparing to be flexible in its approach, adapting quickly as trade conditions evolve.
Yeah, I don't think anything in there is new.
Not really. I think what it says is though, I think what it says is I think we are going to continue to see drops rather than holds. So I think anybody that was speaking that we were going to see any holds on rates or any increases of anything creeping back up, I think that was quietly kind of shut down. And I think they said I think it's a quiet, hey, we're not going to let this go into a recession. We are going to continue to drop rates, but I think that because they were talking about COVID in there, and I didn't and getting into this, I didn't get to delve further, but I know when we've talked about it before, I think there's that continued fear of where COVID had put us, right? So I think there's hey, if we drop rates again, we're just doing what happened in COVID and look where that got us, right? Yeah. And so I think they're just easily bracing us and carrying us along like we did through COVID. And what I always like to remind people is, yes, while we did see interest rates drop, we also are not providing economic relief to people, guys. So it's completely different. That is where it completely changes. Yeah. The economics now are vastly different. Yeah. Because before it was money out, money out. It was giving out, it was cutting down rates, and it was giving out money to people to provide relief. We're not providing relief in this case.
Yeah, it goes back to what we've talked about, and again, is tariffs are going to bring slowdown to the Canadian economy, as it is to the U.S. economy. If you take a look at the most recent inflation rate, yes, our inflation rate went up to 2.6%, which is the highest it's been in some time, and it jumped from 2.6% or 1.9 to 2.6%. So a lot of people will then say, because our inflation is at 2.6%, and we've talked a lot about this in our pod, is that, you know, the ideal rate is 2% for inflation. Well, what's going to happen with rates? That means they're going to increase because we need to slow things down, or we need to basically keep things as they are. But the thing is that if you are in a recession and you need to stimulate buying, the way to do that is to basically lower interest rates. So I believe interest rates are going to continue to drop. I also believe that when we take a look at what has affected the inflation rate to jump to 2.6% to where it was in the previous is much different. And to your point, the economic outlook of what our government is doing, whereas when we were in those COVID days and dishing out money, I was always saying it was like our federal government was handing out money like it was Black Friday and Boxing Day. It's a much different landscape. But again, I think this report, or this statement, really is just kind of walking on that cautionary line to say, hey, we got our eyes on it. We're gonna be smart about it. But at the end of the day, the underlying message does seem like, hey, if these tariffs come in, if our country does go into a recession, and people and outside of our market, and the stock market continues to correct, and as a result, you know, people are jamming their money into bond yields, you know, it really means one thing. It means that rates are going to lower. So I think it's just one of those conversations or things that are out there to say, hey, we see it, this is our game plan, but their underlying message is all the same.
Yeah. Right. And like I said, guys, like they're never going to allow real estate in British Columbia, as we always say, to crumble. And here's a stat, and here's another stat. I always like to pull out these little nuggets. So in 2023, right, British Columbia's real estate and rental and leasing sector contributed $52.81 billion to the province's GDP, with a 2.5% growth rate, matching the province's overall GDP growth. And that's the gross domestic product. So that just shows how much reliance, right, our province has on real estate as a whole, right? So everybody should just be sure and okay that we are going to be fine on either side. And it's just, again, it's just now a matter of making sure you're working with your trusted professional. Get yourself into the market, because we've already talked about the cost of renting versus the cost of ownership, what that's going to look like, right? You're worth $11,000 at 65 years old, if you don't own, you're worth what was it, 1.4 million or something, 11.4 million or whatever it was, if you own a home, right? There's a vast difference. If you are 35 years old and you're renting, you are worth $44,000. If you are 35 and own your own condo, you are worth $440,000. Right. So that's what we've said. Like that is the importance of real estate. That is the importance of it in our lives. Right.
Home ownership is foundational in your net worth.
Exactly. So to worry about bubbles bursting, to worry about, like, and tariffs and all that, all of this uncertainty is going to go on for the next 4 years, right? This is it. This is our life for the next 4 years, whether we like it or we don't. Most of us don't, right?
Well, and let's be honest. Uncertainty it's going to happen for your entire life.
Entire life. That's it. Entire lifetime,
it's
right?
It's going to be a different story.
Exactly. Just a different page. Exactly. Different page, different book, but it's going to be the same story, right? Uncertainty. And so you can't avoid it, right? So the only thing you can do is work smartly within it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it, is just work smartly within it. And so like Geoff and I have been professing forever, right? Make sure you're working tight with a professional that knows how to do CMAs. Make sure you have a working tight with a professional that understands markets, right? So that you can purchase real estate when it makes sense. And what it is when it makes sense for you. There's no timing. Don't try to wait. Don't try to say, I'm going to buy a pre-sale and then try to sell it, 3 years from now and make millions of dollars on it. Because Geoff and I had a talk talk last pod on how somebody lost $200,000 trying to do that kind of stuff. Tough goal, right? So, we gotta just thinking with all of this stuff going on, the rate cuts and announcements and all this thing, COVID and compared to COVID, just guys, stop comparing it. Just focus in the now. Focus in the now. Don't focus in the future. Don't focus in the past. Make sure that it works for you now and engage. That's it.
I think, and we've talked about this, is that this is opportunity for people to be smart when people are fearful, right? This is an opportunity where you can get wisdom. So when you see it again, the next time around, you might be better prepared for it, because everybody is always a little bit hesitant. But if you ever know anything about history will always repeat itself. Right?
Exactly.
So this is why you see these older people in your life. They're like, stock market's crashed. Awesome. This is what they're going to do. The property market is correcting. This is what I'm going to do. Right.
Yeah.
They're more excited in these types of environments than when everything is cranking. When everything is cranking, they're actually stepping back and slowing down to get ready for the times where things are not cranking. When people are fearful, these are those opportunities that people just go, certain people just look forward to, because
they live for it.
This is where they're getting a great return on their investment. So they're jumping in when everybody else is jumping out. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, what you got for us, man? That was a lot of meat. What you got for us?
You know what? I wanted to talk about a little bit about renovations. When you're doing a renovation in a home that you could possibly be buying, or a home that you could possibly already own, what kind of return of investment are you getting on that? We always hear, what's the ROI?
Right.
Well, first of all, what is ROI? Because people are like, ROI, but
just
ROI
a cool word. I hear everybody say that word.
ROI is your return on your investment. And a lot of times too, like Allister, in your world, people cannot afford to buy brand new homes, right? They need to look at homes which are a little bit older. And we've all heard the term on these home renovation shows, good bones.
Yeah, good bones.
What does good bones mean, Allister?
Good bones means it's not falling down around you. It means that, hey, good bones is, may have some opportunity on the inside, but the structure's great. There's a lot you can use there's a lot of usable square footage here. We can do something wonderful with this property. That's good bones.
Right. So in today's environment with affordability, and we've talked a lot about affordability here in British Columbia, affordability in Toronto or in the Vancouver area. It's really hard for people to come in and buy brand new. Everybody wants to buy brand new. It's shiny, it looks pretty, it's good. But at the end of the day, you're paying top dollar when you're buying brand new. So I wanted to kind of say, hey, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to buy homes that have good bones in it. And what I mean by that is that you can buy a home and you can basically improve the inside of that home with renovations by utilizing a mortgage product called a purchase plus improvements.
Okay.
Right? And with a purchase plus improvements, folks, what that means is that you're working with your realtor. The home that you're looking at is $750,000, but it needs to have upgrades possibly in the kitchen or in the bathrooms, or it needs to be painted. Not necessarily structural changes, which affects the foundation, but it's really important to understand is that there are mortgage products out there where you can borrow that money from the bank and get those renovations done, and they're not coming out of your pocket. You're actually borrowing that money in addition to the mortgage to do the renovations that you may want to do within that older home that you can afford, that has good bones, and you're going to renovate it to the way that you need to get it to, or the way that you want to get it to, versus buying a brand new home. So I wanted to jump.
I think that's phenomenal. No, I think that's phenomenal because I actually have an illustration when we're discussing it, that not just for using for yourself, but the literal using the program to make yourself basically $150,000 when you're reselling your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to keep on saying the mortgage plus improvements. So anybody that's listening is going to be so sick of that word that they're going to know what a mortgage plus improvements is. So again, folks, you're getting a mortgage, plus you're getting additional funds to do renovations within the home that you're buying. Now, again, keep in mind, there are obviously restrictions around that, and there's guidelines around that. And the important guideline is that if you're going in to purchase something and there's a renovation that you would like to do, and let's say it's a kitchen upgrade, and say that kitchen upgrade is going to cost you $45,000, important to understand that when you're applying for a mortgage, what the lenders are looking for is they're looking for a quote for that kitchen to be done. That quote, say a $45,000, is going to be added to the mortgage that you're borrowing. And then basically, providing that you qualify for it, you're putting the necessary down payment on the total amount. And then that money, when it completes, is actually held in trust with your solicitor. It isn't given to you in full. It's not like, hey, here's 45 grand to go do your renovation on your kitchen. It is actually held in trust. Your renovation on your kitchen has to get done by a certain period of time, and every lender is a little bit different. So again, it's one of those personalities of the mortgage, right? And
Right,
every lender is not the same. That work needs to be done. That cost needs to be carried by someone. And then once that improvement is completed, then you're, again, depending on the lender, an appraiser is coming in to verify it's complete and to verify the value. Other lenders, it's just submission of receipt. Whatever that is, there has to be verification that that work is done. And then that money is released to you as the borrower from the solicitor's trust account.
Okay, makes sense. Now, are there restrictions, as you were saying, like, are you restricted to areas? So if kitchen, you said, can you do, let's say, can you add a basement suite, for example?
Yeah, like of course, and there's two types of renovations that you can do. You can do that renovation when you're about to buy it and borrow the money from the bank versus having money out of pocket.
Yeah.
But there's also the time when you currently own your own home, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. When you own your own home and you're refinancing and then pulling out the equity to basically do the renovation, and then you're the captain of your own ship if you do that, right?
Right.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about renovations of the home and basically what that means and your return on your investment. So again, when people are doing kitchen upgrades, It's really important to understand that the return on that investment is anywhere from 75 to 100%, right? So
Yep.
people understand that, again, renovating your kitchen, say for $45,000, whatever that might look like, that might be cabinet replacement, it might be cabinet refacing, it could be gutting that kitchen, starting it all over again, replacing the countertops, updating the appliances, updating the lighting, whatever that might look like. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, you're reading, okay, does that list have the most effective places to renovate that you're reading
As
from?
far as in the kitchen?
No, because that's so when I explain people about renovations, if we're talking about renovations and where you get maximum impact on the renovation, I always tell people and that the kitchen, like you just said, is the number one spot. Now, does it give you the second place?
Bathrooms.
Is it the bathroom?
I feel like kitchen and bathrooms always get you a greater return on investment, but
It's
you will see the
master
curb
bedroom.
appeal as well.
It's master bedroom.
Oh, master bedroom.
Master bedroom is the second, and then ensuite. Actually the ensuite is number three. And then if the property doesn't have an ensuite, then of course it's the master bathroom. Those are the three spots that will drive you the most return on your investment, aside from, of course, a basement, aside from your property having a basement suite, of course.
Well, and again, leading into that question, kitchen upgrades, the return on investment is expected anywhere from 75 to 100%. Bathroom renovations, they say anywhere from 60 to 80%, right? First impressions, like curb appeal, like that could be your landscaping, that could be exterior painting. How many homes?
Please, people, you should maintain that all the time, please. I'm gonna start. Everybody that's part of the Acre family. I wanted you guys to all know I am starting this actually April. And April's message is every month you are going to get a home checklist, a monthly checklist of the easy things you can do each month to make sure that your property looks its best and is always working its best. So please, that should always be just like washing your clothes. Please just maintain the outside of your home. But go ahead, Geoff. I know that is something that we neglect, and that is something that we do have to do when we're selling.
Well, again, like to your point, Alistair, your home is your biggest asset, but
Yeah.
drive around your community
Ugh.
and see how many people don't take care of their biggest asset. It just
Wild.
it's dumbfounding.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back to curb appeal, like that's 75 to 150% return on the investment.
Yeah, because it's the first thing people see. Like, think about that. If they're walking up to your home and they see that um your paint chips, or you got paint falling down, you got your sidings just all green and mossy and dirty, and just nothing's painted properly. It frustrates me. Grass is overgrown.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got a garage door that's like 100 years old.
right. Yep. Looking like it's all tilted and doesn't even work. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, well,
Sorry, go
first
on.
impressions. First impressions matter. Like I have a house being sold in my community right now, and I drive by it, and the first thing I see is paint chips on the exterior. Like it's just I don't even want to look at it past, because I'm not impressed with the first with what I look at first. It's like this place needs to be repainted.
Well, does anybody want to know, just quickly, we'll get it on. Everybody wants to know the secret sauce to selling a home. I will tell everybody the secret sauce to selling a home. You have to make your property look better than what that other person is sitting in.
Yeah.
When they are looking at your home, when they are looking at those photos, your property needs to be better. It needs to look better than what they're sitting in. That, my friends, is the secret sauce to selling your home. There is nothing else. You can price anything whatever you want to price it, you can price it. But if you just look at it from one simple thing, make it look better than what they're sitting in, you can sell your property for whatever you want.
Yeah, which goes back to first impressions matter,
yes.
Right? And when you ask me, what is the highest return on your investment, it actually is based on statistics, it is your first impressions. It's your
Yep.
curb appeal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
what your landscaping looks like. It's what the front of your house looks like. It's what your exterior painting looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's what your garage doors look like. Because if you can't get past that,
That.
it doesn't matter on what the inside's going to look like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I used to tell people I used to tell people because I used to own clothing stores and we used to interview people.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was like, are you a neat and organized person? And the answer is, yeah, of course I am. I said, well, if I was to go out to your car right now and take a look at the inside of your car, would your car tell me that you are neat and organized? And you'd be surprised on the answer from that. But again, it's that curb appeal, right?
So if I'm going to touch on that too. So my back in my day working for Future Shop, the old owner of Future Shop, it was started here in lovely British Columbia, Mr. K, you amazing gentleman. He was awesome. He taught us something one day, and it was called the 7 steps. And I use this all the time with clients. And it's the first 7 steps that the customer takes when they step out of their car leading up to the front door of the store. And he says, what does the parking lot look like? What does the front door look like? What does the signage look like?
Yeah.
Do the lights work? Because those first 7 steps are going to decide whether they buy something within the store. You can have the most amazing stuff in the store. The store can look amazing. It can be great. But in those first 7 steps, you will lose them if it does not look good. And so that's what I explained. So that's what I explained to my clients. It's the first 7 steps. When they get out of that car to come and see your home, to take a look and see if they're going to buy it, what do those first 7 steps look like?
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, basement finishing and unused spaces, return on investment based on our research, 70 to 100%.
It is huge. So just to let everybody know, that's one I wanted to pause on quickly because I was thinking about clients that I had in Abbotsford East, and we were selling their home, and we were priced right, but it was a source of frustration with them because we were priced substantially less than competitive looking properties that you would think would be the same. And we talk about making adjustments, right? One property had a basement suite. Unfortunately, ours did not. Do you know what the difference in price that was?
You're going to say 60 some odd thousand?
$200,000, Jeff, went from a listing price of $1.2 million to 1.4.
Wow.
That was the change in value to your home. Was $200,000, and all you had to do was put in a basement suite, and there's a government rebate.
Yeah, well, hey, let's jump into that.
Right?
And again, if you guys own your home and you are in the process or wanting to put in legal suites, again, these are for what they call authorized suites.
Yeah.
Our Canadian government, as of December 2024, if you are putting in livable units, self-contained livable units, they will lend up to $80,000 on a low interest loan. That's not secured to your home, right? Also, we've talked about this before, is that if you own your home, you can also refinance your home up to 90%. Now, remember, right now, as of today, well, as of every day, you can only refinance your home to 80% of the value to pull out the equity. But if you are putting in authorized suites, and I think it's up to 4 units, you are allowed to refinance your home up to 90% in order to basically put those living accommodations in. And here in BC, there's a program called the Secondary Suite Incentive Program, since we love the acronyms, the SSIP, and they will actually offer forgivable loans of up to 50%, which is 40 grand for homeowners that are creating secondary suites in their primary residence. So there's a lot of initiative and a lot of incentive for people that either own a home to create livable spaces, right?
Yep.
But also, again, when you're buying a home with good bones, and to your point, a home that in your particular scenario, a home that was worth 1.2 million, all of a sudden it's worth 1.4 million, and maybe that renovation for that suite's only going to cost you 60 some odd thousand dollars to do.
It was 55. We priced it up for the people.
Right. So your return on your investment on 55,000 using your case scenario, now all of a sudden it's worth 200. You just made $150,000 off a $55,000 investment.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, that's crazy.
So again, home renovation. So basement finishing, unused spaces, like be it a home office, be in an entertainment area. Again, rental suites, affordable self-contained spaces. The reasons why there's so many programs out there is because we're having a housing issue. So there's lots of programs and initiatives that are there. But again, your return on your investment is huge, right?
Massive. You just have to get creative.
Upgrades. That's another one. That's about 50 to 75%. That's solar panels on your roof. Yeah. That could be smart thermostats. That could be replacing the windows and the doors, better insulation. Again, there's tons of grants that are out there that basically that our government, provincial and federally, are giving in order for us to become more efficient homes, right? These older homes, from 1970, where you walk into them and you feel like you're in a rat race as a maze. It's like there's a wall here, there's a wall here, there's a wall here. Opening those up to an open concept, that's anywhere from 60 to 90%, right? So there are so many things that we can do in order to get a great return on your investment. And not only that, there could be security systems. It could be automated lights, sound systems, like in-ground sprinklers. But at the end of the day, where I want to leave, there's three things that I kind of want to just wrap things up here, is that when you are purchasing a home, in today's environment, yes, we would all love to buy a home that has everything we want in it, right? The reality of it is the majority of the population cannot. The reality of it is that there are mortgage products out there that can get you to where you need to be. And in doing so, have a huge return on your investment. And again, folks, those mortgage products, if you're working with your realtor, you are working with a home that you love, has good bones, but it may need a kitchen upgrade. It may need a bathroom renovation. It may need to get some sexier curb appeal. Maybe there's going to be a basement suite that you can put into it. Maybe you want to, make it a little bit more energy efficient. You want to change the layout. You can borrow that money, providing you qualify, put a down payment on that money. And again, let's say you're borrowing $100,000. You might have to put 10% of 100,000, which increases your down payment by 10 grand. But now you have $100,000 where you can do these upgrades. You can get the return on the investment. And at the end of the day, now you're walking away with a home that you bought for 1.2. Now it's worth 1.4. Right.
Exactly.
And folks, you didn't have to take that money out of your pocket. You actually borrowed it. But the key takeaway here is that, remember, folks, the lender is not just going to give you an X amount of dollars for you to do the home renovation once that mortgage completes. You have to get quotes on the upgrades before you do the mortgage. Those quotes get submitted with the purchase agreement. Providing that you qualify, that money for those improvements get held at the solicitors. That work needs to be done and carried. The cost needs to be carried. And once that work is completed and verified through an appraiser or receipts, depending on the lender, then that money is released to you to pay for the renovation that's being done. Right. Also, keep in mind there's a time limit on it. You can't wait for 2 years and do it. There's a time limit on it. And again, that's lender specific as well. And again, folks, if you own your own home, right, Our Canadian government will give you up to $80,000 unsecured to do to create suites up to 4. When you're refinancing, we can refinance you up to 90%. It's the only time that you can refinance to 90% outside if you're going through a separation. That's a whole new topic that we won't talk about now. Providing that again, that you're putting legal authorized suites in the home up to 4 units. And then our BC government is given forgivable loans of up to $40,000 with the programs that they have if you're creating housing within your primary residence. So again, renovations, no-brainers, huge return on investment. If you're buying, purchase plus improvements. If you're owning, refinance up to 90%, depending on what you're doing. And again, you're making that money work well for you.
Well said, man.
I know.
Well said. And I'm a believer in the resale market, the good bones homes over new most of the time, anyhow. And the reason being is land size, lot size. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing, peeps. Like when you're buying these brand new homes right now, you were getting 4,000 square foot lot size, peeps, and most people don't like that. Now,
and they're structurally better as well.
Yeah, exactly. They're structurally better. Yeah, exactly. So to me, I'm a way bigger fan over the resale market and doing the renovations if you can, and especially like we were just saying with all of these grants, it's really just about becoming knowledgeable and getting creative. But that's the thing. There are so many things out there that you can do to take advantage of, right? There's so many opportunities to take advantage of that you can turn that $1.2 million home that you just purchased into a $1.4 million home. And that will make, and it only costs you $50,000 to do it. And then you get to enjoy it for your 3 to 5 years, right? And then, oh my goodness, I made $150,000 more than I expected just by purchasing this property.
Well, and that's the immediate value once.
That's what I'm saying. That's the immediate.
We're not even talking about the appreciation in that 5 years.
Right? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's the cherry on the cherry, right?
It goes back to what we just talked about, is asking questions in what you're doing, right? If you're purchasing a home and people are not telling you about, hey, well, this home is great. You can do renovations here. Well, I don't have the money. Well, have you heard about the purchase plus improvement mortgage? Well, no. Right. What does that mean? And again, ask your lending partner about it. Ask your realtor partner about it. If they don't know, you're probably working with the wrong person.
Wrong. That's it. If you're explaining your dreams and your goals, right, eloquently, and you're laying it out, I want to buy a home. I'd like, if it doesn't have a basement suite, I'd like to put one in. Right? And if your lender and your real estate agent know this and they're not giving you advice on how to accomplish those things and what steps you need to take to do that, then you're not working with the right people.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to know where to go?
Yeah.
Right?
And again, I did some home efficient upgrades or I made my home a little bit more efficient. I went to three people because I was putting heat pumps into my house. 2 of those 3 didn't tell me about the grants.
See? It's crazy.
It saved $6,000 because that one person told me about the grants.
That's crazy. Right? That's crazy.
That's it is. Allister. Let's wrap this bad boy up.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, wow. Thank you guys all for listening. This one's been a little bit longer than we're used to, but this one was packed, man. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it was. So thank you all for being with us. Next week, we're so excited to have our boy Joe back with us again. This is why Geoff and I spoke so long, because Geoff and I are going to take it easy next pod. Let Joe explain. I think he's going to explain some financial tips for everybody. I'm super excited for that. So he'll be with
our 50th pod,
our 50th anniversary. That's what I was going to say. He will be back. He will be with us for our golden anniversary podcast number 50. Super excited about that. So, with that being said, everybody, have an amazing rest of your week. Have an even better weekend. And most importantly, stay empowered, stay informed, and Geoff,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. That's right, everybody. Peace out.